I just got these animals their dinner. I don't know if y'all can see in there, but they're still eating that distilled grains corn mixture. Oh, it's about 10:45 in the evening, and I just got everything done. And as of right now, things are going good. Things are going good. I had a retreat on 2 animals, and I gave them a shot of enrofloxacin 2 days ago. One of them was a bottle calf, and the other one was a Hereford bull, or a Hereford steer. I steered a Hereford about 2 weeks ago, and I got him a shot of enrofloxacin, and then I gave a bottle, I gave the little blonde Brahma calf that I brought in a few days ago. I gave him a shot of enrofloxacin as well. It's been about 48 hours, and the antibiotics seem to have worked. The animals look like they're doing good, and the little Brahma calf, we'll go take a look at him. But turns out he needed milk. I weaned him, and then I put him off of feed for about a week. And yesterday I was taking a look at him, and he was pooping up little golf ball sized turds. And those turds were rock solid, and he just did not look like he was doing very good. He looked like he was having a lot of problems. And so starting today, this morning, I gave him a half a bottle of milk in the morning. I gave him a half a bottle of milk, and he immediately looked better. I mean, he looks like he's already doing better. And I gave him another half a bottle of milk about 10 minutes ago. And this morning, my check came in for my cattle. And so it's my first check for the month. And last month I did just about $20,000 in the cattle business. There was 3 Mondays for the month last month, and I did like $23,000 or something like that. If I include all of my like my W-2 and everything, I did about $22,000. Right now, this check that I got this morning, I got $6 grand. And so but this is what I've been saying, on the average, I would say that I do about probably about $18,000 a month. I make about $18,000 a month, and my check got in this morning, and I made $6,000 on the calves that I sent a few days ago. I sent the calves in about 5 days ago, and I made $6 grand on them. And so my numbers for last month was I made about $23,000. I made about $22,000. And this month my income is going to be about 16 grand. And when I take a look at the average for what do I do, I would say I probably make about $18,000 a month. And so these calves right here, if you take a look at them, these are the calves that I'm gonna be taking to market this week. The feeder cattle market is kind of starting to fall apart a little bit, and so I'm gonna take these 3 big heifers, these 3 big white heifers, and then I got a big red steer in here. That's him right there. I'm gonna take him too, and I'm gonna see. I gotta find one more calf that I'm gonna take, and then I'm gonna take those. Those are 4 of the 5 animals that I'm gonna take, and then I'm gonna take one more animal, and that'll be 5 animals. But right now, okay. So I've talked about my business plan in the past, and right now is a good time to bring it up, because I believe that if you take a look at, if you actually, a few weeks ago, I actually said my business plan word for word. And if you take a look at what I'm doing right now, it's actually, I'm doing my business plan word for word. I said that what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in calves every 2 weeks. I'm going to bring them in every 2 weeks. I'm looking to bring in 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame cattle. And I'm going to bring these animals in for a 10% deduction off the feeder cattle market that I cut the number in half. And when I go to the sell barn with that number, usually I'm buying animals between 200 and 325 pounds or so. You know, I buy them anywhere from about 150 up to about 325. And when I bring them in, but most of the time, on the average, I probably bring them in at about 200. And if I bring them in at 200, I precondition them, I put them on a feed, And then I go to the sell barn every 2 weeks. I actually said my business plan word for word. A few weeks ago, I actually said exactly what I was going to do. And if you take a look at what I'm doing, I'm actually doing exactly what I said I was going to do. I said this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this to a fine detail. And if the plan changes, I will make a video and I will say that the plan has changed. And if you take a look at what I'm doing right now, I'm doing exactly what I said I was going to do a few weeks ago. I'm bringing in these animals. I'm going to the sale barn every 2 weeks. And when I go to the sale barn every 2 weeks, I am purchasing animals at that price that I have discussed. And I'm going to bring in the animals. And when I bring in the animals, I anticipate that the average of my herd is going to be a 200-pound animal. And when I have a 200-pound animal, I put them on a 65-70% TDN diet, 12 to 14% protein. And when I feed them this diet at a ratio of about 4% of their body weight a day, or about 3.25% of their body weight a day in dry matter, when I feed the animals this diet, they will put on roughly about 2.5 to 3 pounds a day. And when I do this word for word, within about 4 months, if I bring in calves every 2 weeks, when I bring in calves every 2 weeks and I run them, if I bring in calves every 2 weeks and I run 40 calves, I'm essentially running every calf for 4 months, because it's 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks I bring home 5 calves. If you think about it like that, then it's 10 calves a month. And if I have 40 calves, that's 4 months per calf. And during that 4-month period, my big plan is to take the animal from 200 pounds up to about 550. And when I liquidate the animals, then if the feeder cattle market goes sideways, this is how much money I anticipate that I'm going to make. And I actually said my plan word for word a few months, maybe even a couple of months ago now. I said my plan word for word. And if you take a look at what I'm doing, you're going to see that I do exactly what I said I was going to do, right? I said, this is my plan. If the plan changes, this is how I'm going to change it. Or if the plan changes, I'm going to make a video and I'm going to say, this is exactly how I changed the plan. And I've been following through with the plan word for word, right? If you actually take a look at what I'm doing, you're going to see that I followed the plan word for word. Did not change one detail on the plan. And last month I made about 18 grand. And this month I'm gonna make about 12 grand. And when I include my W-2, my average income is about $18,000 a month. And I've already said this, but me at the end of the day, and I know it sounds kind of like a dick move, but I mean, I make so much money, I can essentially do whatever the heck I want. To a large degree, I've already talked about this idea, but me, it's like I make so much money running cattle that if I want to go and buy more land, I'll just go and buy more land. If I want to buy $100,000 tractor, I'll buy $100,000 tractor. If I want to buy $100,000 truck, I'll buy $100,000 truck. If I want to buy 40 cattle, I'll buy 40 cattle, and I will still have like $7,000 a month left over cash. That is legitimately what my that is what it looks like to generate this much money every year. And the big idea for this is that maybe, because when it comes to money, when it comes to just looking at the facts for what they are, I make the most money out of anyone that I know. And it is a long shot. I mean, it is a massive difference. And a way to look at it is like, if I was put in a room with 1 million people, if I was put in a room with 1 million people, I would be making the most money in the room. And the person who is in second place would be making about 10% as much money as me. And so when I make these videos and I'm looking to show you how do I live my life, what do I do on a daily basis, what do I do on a daily basis, and maybe when I go through what I do on a daily basis, it will open your mind. And for the first time in your life, you will be able to see somebody who makes a drastic amount of money. Like if I was in a room with 1 million people, I would make the most money in the room, and I would legitimately be making 10 times more money than the person who is second place. That is how much money I make. If I want this year, if I want to buy a $100,000 tractor, I'll buy a $100,000 tractor. If I want to increase the size of my herd, if I want to double the size of my herd, I'll double the size of my herd. If I want to buy a new piece of land, I'll buy a new piece of land. And even after I do all of that, I will still have about $6,000-$7,000 a month left over. That's how much money I make. And when you're looking at this and you're taking a look at this, you have to understand that that is what the money looks like. You know, this right here, that is what I essentially get to do when I run cattle like this. Last month, I made about I think it was like $23,000 for the month. This month, I've got my first cattle check. I made $6,000. Here next week, I'm going to the cattle market again, and I've got five good size animals. I've got five good number 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame animals. Maybe I'll take an animal like that or something. And you know, they're probably going to hit the scale at about 500, 550, and 550 is the gold market weight right now. And when I do all these things, I mean, you know, I legitimately make so much money that I can do whatever I want to a reasonable degree. You know, like this year I bought a new tractor. I got a new new piece of land that I'm buying. I'm running this business. I got all these things that I'm doing, and I still have a net positive. Like, I still have like $7,000 a month cash left over in my bank account. That's how much money I make. I mean, when you take a look at this, you have to understand that, you know, that's the big idea. And when I make these videos, maybe it's like, you know, for the first time in your life, for most people, it will be the first time that you ever see anybody make this drastic amount of money. And I'm not saying that, and I've already talked about the big idea of money, right? I've already talked about the big idea of money is that you don't need to make $2 million a year to be rich. You don't. Like, when you look at me and, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, I got a net worth of of about 2 million. I've got about 2 million in assets, and I'm doing about a 12% return, a 10% return on my, maybe I got about a 1.5 million in assets, and I do maybe about a 15% return on my assets. You know, maybe I got about 1.5 million in assets, and I do about $18,000 a month. I do about $18,000 a month, and I got about 1.5 million in assets. You don't need this much money to be rich. I mean, you don't. You know, me. You know, here's the thing. It's like, if I included my investments, the amount of equity that I was generating in my investments as well, I mean, my monthly income would go up by several $1,000s. And so, the big idea with money is that you don't need to make this much money to be rich. You don't. I mean, realistically, if you make even me, I would say that, okay, so here's what my budget looks like. I bring home, on the average, about $18,000 a month cash. And you know, I would say that even after I pay for everything, I paid for my business, I paid for my truck, I paid for my tractor, I paid for my home, I paid for everything, I still have about $7,000 a month left over, just free cash. Legitimate, I can do whatever I want. That, you know, and so realistically, it's like, if you didn't have the business and you didn't have the tractor, if you just had the piece of land and you had the truck and that was all you had, you didn't have to, you know, run the business, and you didn't have to, you know, buy the tractor and all that. Realistically, you know, like me, I could have bought this piece of land, and I could have bought the truck, and I could have bought the land and the truck and just lived a comfortable life if I made maybe $7,000 a month. If I made $7,000 a month, I could afford to buy the land and the truck and live a comfortable life. But I mean, you throw the business on top of it, you throw the tractor on top of it, and it's like, maybe that's an extra $5,000 a month. And all in all, maybe I come home, after it's all said and done, maybe I make about $6,000-$7,000 a month. And so, you know, last month, just in the cattle business, You know, last month, just in the cattle business, I made about maybe about $19,000. You know, this cattle business, last month, maybe about 19,000. This month, I just got my first cattle check, and next week I'll be getting my next cattle check. And this morning I got a check for $6,000. And so, you know, maybe I do about $17,000 this month. And, you know, but that's the thing. It's like, and I've already talked about money. You know, when it comes to money, it's like, you know, okay, so when I show you this cattle farm, I mean, it should be understood that I may legitimately be the only cattle farmer on the entire planet that is capable of doing this. You should consider that. You probably can't do this. Most people can't. And I've talked about this in the past. And, you know, if we tie this back into the video, what I was saying earlier, you know, you don't need to make $18,000, $20,000 a month to be financially well off. You don't. Realistically, you don't. I mean, realistically, if you make you know, even $8,000 a month, you can afford to do all of this, subtracting the business and the tractor. Like, if you wanted to buy the land and you wanted to buy a truck, I mean, you could do that with about $8,000 a month, no problem. I mean, me, you know, I run the business and I also have a nice tractor. And when I include all of that combined, maybe I have about $5,000 to $7,000 a month cash left over. And that's the thing. And I've talked about this, but you know, it's like, if you want to go and find out for yourself, knock yourself out. I mean, have a blast. I mean, if you want to go and be a cattleman, nobody's stopping you. It's a free country. You can do whatever you want. And if you want to go and be a cattleman, then go and be a cattleman. Nobody's stopping you. But don't hold on to me, because I mean, I've already said this. There's no way that I'm saving anybody. It's just not possible. And the thing is, okay, and I've talked about this, and when it comes to farming is 100% a skill-based business. If you cannot farm, then you cannot farm, right? And I've already talked about this idea, but the big idea is that after a certain point, you should probably not look to do skill-based work at all, ever. I mean, after about 15, 18 years old, you should probably not be trying to do skill-based work. If you try to do skill-based work, you're gonna fail. I mean, you would have just been better off just getting a job with a good set of benefits, and you know, and you know, if you really wanted to run a business, then buy a business. Don't start a business. You know, if you're like, okay, and here's the thing, it's like me. You know, when you look at this farm on a monthly basis, this farm is actually not costing me any money at all. This farm is actually making me money. This farm is actually, I don't put any money into this farm at all. All of the money that I need for this farm comes from the farm itself. Every time that I sell cattle, when I have money left over, I can buy whatever I want. I have about $5,000 to $7,000 a month left over, cash every month, and I can buy whatever I want. You know, and so all of the money that I need for the farm comes from the farm itself. This right here, it doesn't cost me anything. Like, you see the hay, you see the cattle, you see the feed, you see the hay rings, you see all of this stuff, right? All of this stuff is paid for by the cattle. All of the money that I need comes from the cattle itself. And so, you know, and I was actually going to talk about this, but I think that the thing about me is that when you look through my perspective, I think that the average person, this is just from my belief, that the average person, when they see somebody, they see an opportunity to maybe benefit themselves by interacting with that person. You know, at the end of the day, they do. And I think that, and I've already said, the big idea of sounding like a prick is that, you know, it doesn't, I don't, you know, if I sound like a prick, then so be it. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, if I sound like a prick, then I mean, it just is what it is. But, you know, a lot of people, I think that when they see other people, they see a potential for them to benefit themselves. They do. I mean, and then they interact with other people with the possibility that maybe that they can benefit. And I think that this will be eye-opening for people in terms of my perspective. But from my perspective, it's actually the other way around. When I see a lot of people, I see a massive pile of problems from most people. I don't see any possibility to benefit. I actually see the opposite. Me, when I interact with most people, like when it comes to the potential for me benefiting in my life from interacting with that person, for me personally, it's actually a negative return. For me, this is from my perspective. Because when I'm left to my own devices, I'm not going to do nothing to nobody. I just get up and I work for 15 hours a day, and then I just call it a day. Like me, I like for the last, ever since I got started back up, I've been working from about 7:30 to about 11 p.m. every single day. And like me, when I'm left to my own devices, I don't do nothing to nobody. I will legitimately just run cattle and just call it a day. I'm serious. I don't do nothing to nobody. I run my cattle and I just call it a day. And there is legitimately, for most, when I come into contact with people, like when I interact with people, and I think that this would be an eye-opening perspective. But me, I actually see zero benefit. I actually see a negative from me interacting with most people, almost everybody, if not everybody. Because here's the thing, it's like me making money like this, I can essentially do whatever I want. Like me, when I make like this much money, and here's a good example of me, meaning I can essentially do whatever I want. I'm gonna put this light down for a minute because it's getting heavy. But here's what I mean by I can do whatever I want. Me, I bought a $100,000 tractor. I bought all these cattle. I bought all this stuff. I bought all of this hay. I run this business. I still net a profit of several $1,000s a month. I mean, I have like $7,000 a month left over. And it's like and I'm in the process of buying more land. I'm buying more land, and when I buy more land, I'm gonna run more cattle. And when I buy more land and I run more cattle, I'm gonna make even more money. Right? Realistically, I'll almost quadruple my income. And I've already talked about what am I gonna do in terms of the business side of things. How am I gonna, what am I gonna do with the money? How am I gonna make the, what am I gonna do with the money that I'm making right now, etc., etc. But I may actually end up selling my mama heifers. I may end up selling Nala over here. She's shaping up pretty good, and I don't really think that I'm ever gonna really get into the cow calf business. I thought about it and I was like, the thing about the stalker calf business is that the stalker calf business is the hardest business in the cattle industry by a long shot. I mean, if you go and you find a cattleman and they say that they, chances are they don't want to run stalker calves. Almost nobody does. And I was like, but me, I do well in the stalker calf business. I do well in the stalker calf business, and I was like, I might just go ahead and sell my my mama heifers. I was holding a Nala and I was holding a Missy over here, but maybe someone will buy them and raise them as a mama cow. But I don't think that I'm ever going to get in the cow calf business. I don't really care for it. Maybe one day I'll do it, but I just don't really care for it. Me, I'm in the stalker calf business. This business is what I know, and I do well in it, and I do a business that almost nobody wants to do. And so I was like, maybe I'll just go ahead and liquidate my my mama heifers as well. But if I do, then Nala's going to be going to the sale this week as well. Nala will be the 5th calf. Nala right here, she'll be the 5th calf going to the market. And but that's the thing about me is that, I know that this might, but I don't really care. At the end of the day, I always say that when it comes to a poor person, I mean, there's a reason you're poor. Like if you're poor, there's a reason you're poor, right? I mean, legitimately sit there and think about it. I mean, think about your life, right? If you're poor, there's a reason you're poor. And if you don't like it, then sue me. I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, there's a very real possibility that I make 50 times more money. I mean, what are you gonna do? Sue me? I'll I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, ain't nobody gonna do nothing. I almost guarantee it, right? Almost nobody got any set of balls on them at all. I mean, no, ain't nobody gonna really do nothing. I can almost guarantee it. I mean, if someone touched one rock on my driveway, they'd be going to jail, right? I mean, I got cameras all over my property. I mean, I'll sue the crap out of you, and it's like, it don't matter, if I catch you on my field, on any one of my fields, I'll just go ahead and shoot you in the leg. I don't really care, right? I mean, it's like if I make 50 times more money, I make 50 times more money, what are you gonna do? Get a lawyer? I mean, sue me, good luck. I will legitimately kick you in the dick. I mean, it don't matter. I can do whatever I want, right? I mean, I can do whatever I want. I essentially make so much money that it don't matter. I essentially generate so much money that I can do whatever I want. And, and when it comes to doing business, on the business side of things, nobody really has anything to offer me, right? I mean, nobody has anything to offer me at all. Like, there's nothing for anybody to offer me. I don't care. I've always said, take your deal into a hole in the ground with you, and I'm sincere. I sincerely mean it. I mean, there's legitimately 99.999% of the earth has nothing to offer me in terms of business, right? I mean, I make more money than 99.993% of the entire country. I mean, if you put me in a room with 1 million people, I would make 10 times more money than the person in second place. I generate such a massive amount of money that it don't really matter. I can do whatever I want, and I mean, and it's like, if you don't like it, then sue me. I really don't care. I mean, I got cameras all over my field, and if you touch one, if anybody, legitimately, I would love to see it. It's like, if you touched one rock on my drive, if anybody even did anything, even remotely tried to be dumb, I mean, you'd go to jail forever. I would sue you for everything you have. If I caught you on my field, I would shoot you in the leg. I mean, it don't matter, right? I mean, legitimately, you want to go to jail forever. I mean, have fun with that. At the end of the day, I legitimately make so much money that I can do whatever I want. And even after I do whatever I want, like right now, I bought myself a new tractor. I'm running this business. I paid for all of my bills. I paid for all of my cattle. I paid for all of my hay. I paid for everything, and I still have $7,000 a month left over. I mean, it's legitimately so much money that I can do whatever I want. And, and I'm buying this new field. And when I got this new field squared away, I'll be making more money. And realistically, I mean, as of even right now, I essentially have more money than I could ever use. So, I mean, it don't matter. I'm not saying it don't matter. I mean, I'm saying that maybe if I actually gave my perspective and people got to see what it looked like. And I'm not saying, okay, and I've talked about this too, but there are things that are not in my control, and I don't worry about that stuff that's not in my control. There are a lot of things that are in my control, and those are the things that I worry about. Like, what kind of animal do I bring in? How much do I pay for the animals? What kind of food do I put them on? How much food do I give them? What kind of medication do I put them on? All of that stuff is in my control. And that's the stuff that I really focus on. And, when it comes to this business, I may be the only person on the entire planet that can run this business. This business, in terms of running this cattle business, I might legitimately be the only person on the entire planet that can run this business. And, I mean, that should be considered. I mean, chances are nobody can really do this. I mean, and if you can do it, then go and do it. Knock yourself out. I mean, have a blast. No, I'm not going to help you. I don't care. You could die tomorrow, and I legitimately would not care. So, if you can do it, then go and do it. But I may be the only person on the entire planet that is capable of doing this. And so that should be accounted for. And no, you should not go and become a cattleman. I've already talked about this, but I mean, most people should not become a cattleman. Most people should not do it. If you tried to do it, you would fail. I mean, it's just realistically, it's just, it's not a realistic opportunity for most people in terms of running cattle. I mean, you would legitimately, and I've talked about this, but in terms of cattle, if you are, okay, here's a way to look at it. I've said that my my business right here operates on about a 10 to 15% death loss. And if you take a look at what a 10 to 15% death loss looks like, I actually posted an article, a research article posted by the government on a stalker calf operation. And that stalker calf operation was essentially being run by multiple PhD level, super high level feedlot people, more than likely. They probably got some high level PhD individuals, put them together and said, run this trial. And even when they ran that trial, they got numbers similar to mine. They ended up with a 10 to 12% death loss. And so that should be considered, realistically, myself, I am legitimately running this farm at a level where it might be like 4 or 5 PhDs put together. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, I'm not just making this up, and I'm not just, sitting here, fiddling my own diddly. Go and read the article that I posted on my video yesterday. It was an article on an antibiotic study done, and they put all these calves together, and they ran a trial on them, and the government posted it. And even in that trial, their numbers looked like mine. And I'm one guy in my backyard running cattle. I don't even have one PhD. I barely graduated high school. Barely. Like I was in the bottom 20% of my high school class. I don't even have one PhD. And I do all of this by myself, and I operate this farm at a level where it's like multiple PhDs are put together for a specific purpose to run this trial, and they got similar numbers as me. So you should consider that. I mean, unless you are capable, like a very, 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 very capable individual, you're not going to be able to run the cattle business. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, And when it comes to it just is what it is. I essentially make so much money that I can do whatever I want. Okay, here's a way to look at my income. I make income in the top 99.993% of the entire country. To find somebody that makes as much money as me, it would take 750,000 people. If you had 750,000 people in a room, I would make the most money. And if you had 1.5 million people in a room, there would be 2 of us in a room. And that second person might just be somebody who YOLO'd the stock market. They might just have bought Bitcoin. I don't know what they did to make their money, right? But the thing about me is that if I was put in a situation where legitimately all I had was $100 a month, if I was put in a situation where I had $100 a month, I could turn that $100 a month into $100,000 within 2 years. If I was slow, it would take me 3 years. That's how good I am with money. That's how good I am at making money. If I had $100 a month, I could turn $100 a month into $100,000 cash in 2 years. In 3 years, if I was slow. If it took me a long time, it would take me 3 years. That's how good I am with money. And when you take a look at it in terms of the broad scale of the U.S. economy, I make more money than 99.993% of the entire country. And if you go back on my videos and you watch what I've done, maybe you will start to understand, and what I do will start to become a part of your perspective. It will become a part of your perspective, and then you will see and maybe you will see an opportunity to make money in your life as well. Because that's the big idea. The big idea is that maybe when I show what I do, it will become part of your perspective. And when it becomes a part of your perspective, you will see a way to do something and to make yourself more money. Because if you take a look at my videos, about a month ago, I said exactly, almost to a fine detail. I have actually not changed anything about my business plan over about the last month. I have not changed a single thing. The plan is still the same. The amount of money that I'm paying per animal, still the same. Still the same formula. I'm still using the same formula. I'm using the same formula. And essentially, I'm saying that I'm bringing home animals at 200 pounds. I'm putting them on a specific diet. I actually purchased the feed in advance. And now I'm feeding the animals a specific diet. And when I run this business plan the way that I'm running it, I will essentially bring home a 200-pound calf, raise them to about 550 after 4 months, and once I do that, I will liquidate the animal. And that is where I make my margin. And last month, doing this exact business plan, the exact business plan that I said I was going to do about a month ago, I legitimately did it to a fine detail. I did not change one detail on the business plan. I made about $18,000. I made about $19,000. And this month I'll do about 12, 13 grand. Last month I did about $23,000. This month I'll do about 19 grand. And so, I legitimately did not change one detail on my business plan. I did not change one detail. I did it to a fine detail, and here is how it worked out. And this is also what I mean by when you make plans, your plans should make sense. Your plans should not be like, I'm going to go on a magical adventure. I'm going to sing Kumbaya and hold hands with my buddy pow pows, and then we're going to go skipping off into the sunset. It should not be like that. If it's like that, your plan is doomed to fail. I can almost guarantee it. From what I've seen, I can almost guarantee. I would be willing to bet 50 to 1. And and if it's like, if you don't want to believe me, then don't believe me. Have fun on your little mystical magical journey. If you want to live a mystical magical journey for the rest of your life, then have fun. But it's not going to work out. It's just not going to work out. I can almost guarantee it. It don't matter. And, and it's like, and if you really don't like it, then sue me. What are you going to do? Sue me? Good luck. I'll legitimately kick you in the dick. It don't matter. What are you possibly going to do? Right? I legitimately, I make money in the top 0.007 percentile of the entire U.S. economy. Maybe there's a reason for that, right? And so, and it's essentially, it's like and I'm not saying this to, I don't want to be like I don't want, I've already said but I don't want to come off as like I got money, so I'm better than people. I'm not. I'm more or less the average person. I just happen to spend a lot of time learning how to farm and working on my business. If you put me in a room with 1,000 people, I would probably say about 350 people. Here's the thing. It's like if we were actually going to figure out who's smarter. I'm not some incredibly intelligent person. I'm not. I would say maybe I'm smarter than, maybe I'm in the top, and it would have to be specifically just about farming. If we were talking just about farming, then maybe I'm smarter than, a majority of the earth. But the reason that I'm not smarter, I'm more knowledgeable. I know more about farming than almost everybody. And the reason I know more about farming is because I spent more time doing it. I was not born with this, I was not born this incredibly intelligent, magical farmer. It's not like I was just born one day, being a farmer, right? Like, I was not just born farming. Like, I didn't just wake up one day and just go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a business. I'm going to grow grass and I'm going to run cattle. I did not do that. All of this had to be learned. I had to learn how to do all of this. right? I had to learn how to do everything. I taught myself how to farm. I'm a first generation farmer. I taught myself how to farm, and I legitimately I taught myself how to do all of this. And I learned how to do all of this by myself. And so I was not born a farmer, right? I mean, I was not just like born. I did not just walk onto the earth one day, this incredible farmer. I did not do that, right? I mean, I had to learn how to do everything. And so, and I know that, and at the end of the day, this farm, I make so much money running this farm that I can practically do whatever I want. And I think a lot of people, they don't know what that feels like. It's like, making so much money that you can do whatever you want. And I think the idea is freedom, and the big idea is freedom. It's like me, I legitimately make so much money that I can, like, if I want to go and buy more land, I'll go and buy more land. If I want to buy a tractor, I'll buy a tractor. If I want to buy more cattle, I'll buy more cattle. If I want to buy a whole load of hay, I'll buy a whole load of hay. I'll buy all this stuff. I'll legitimately buy myself everything. And I will still have close to $7,000 a month left over cash. That's the situation that I'm in. Last month I did like 23 grand. This month I did about this month I've done 6 grand already. Next week I'll be taking animals to the market again, and when I do that, maybe I do about another 6-7 grand. And it's like, at the end of the day, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. I make so much money, I can do whatever I want. I'm gonna go and buy a new and it's like, at the end of the day, it's like it just, I mean, almost anything. I mean, granted that it's not like I'm gonna be doing a bunch of drugs, right? If it's not like I'm gonna be doing a bunch of drugs, or I'm gonna be drinking a bunch of beer or something, I can do whatever I want. I think that this, when you see my perspective, I think that that's gonna be the thing. I think that that's gonna be the thing that's most eye-opening for people. Is like the capacity to make so much money on my own. That I can do what I can essentially buy anything I can essentially buy anything. And like if I was put in the middle of Oklahoma by myself, if I was put in the middle of Nebraska by myself, if I was put in the middle of wherever by myself, I could legitimately just start a business and start running cattle, and I will start making money to a degree where it's, I could do this all over again, zero problem. And when it comes to money, I am so good with money. I am so good at making money that if all I had was $100 a month, I could turn that $100 a month into $100,000 in 2 years. If I was slow, it would take me 3 years. And so when you take a look at what I'm doing, you should consider that. You should consider like that this, what you're looking at, is essentially a top 0.007 percentile of all businesses in the entire country. Nobody did this. Nobody, not a single person. I'm the only person that I know who managed to do this. And so that should be considered. And no, you cannot do it. Nobody is born a cattleman. Nobody is born a farmer. And if you're not young, there is no way that you're going to do it. Legitimately, I mean, you would have to drop everything that you're doing, and you would have to work 15 hours a day for the next 15 years of your life to get to just this point. And so, there is no way that you're going to make it. Anybody. I can almost guarantee it. I would be willing to bet, if I legitimately took that bet with, if we got a whole bunch of people and everybody just magically randomly decided one day that they could be a farmer, for whatever reason, they're like, oh my God, I'm a cattleman. This happens a lot. You see, like if you go into the sale barn or you go anywhere and you take a look around, somehow people come to the conclusion, they just sit there and they'll go, oh my God, I can be a farmer. I can be a cattleman. And you cannot be a cattleman. You cannot be a farmer. You can't. It's too late. Unless you are very young or you are legitimately going to drop everything that you're doing and work on just farming for 15 hours a day for the next 15 years of your life, you will never make it. You won't make it. I could take that bet with everybody. If you put everybody in a room who said that they wanted to be a farmer, if you put everybody into a room and I took that bet with everybody that nobody's going to make it to this point, I would be a trillionaire. I would make trillions of dollars on that bet. Nobody's going to make it. I'm the only person that I know who made it. The only one. And if you take a look at how much money I generated over the last 365 days, it puts me in the top 0.007 percentile of all the earners in the entire country. In the entire country. 1 out of 750,000 people. And so, no, you're not going to make it. You're not even going to get close. Nobody's even going to get borderline close. If anything, you're closer to being homeless than you are closer to being to this. I mean, you're going to be closer to being homeless than you are closer to being to this. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. I would take that bet with everybody. You're going to be closer to being homeless than you are going to be to making $2 million a year. I can guarantee it. I would take that bet. And if I took that bet with everybody, I would make money. And so consider that. But that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.